Welcome to a special episode of um, our coverage of the Washington Mystics. This will be a preview of the upcoming game later tonight between the Washington Mystics and the New York Liberty. Something a little different from what we normally do post game with the Mystics outlook throughout their playoff run. I'm going to try to get in here and preview and just give you some things to look at, some keys to the game, key players, um, key adjustments that each team may make, as they battle. Obviously, but before we get started, I'll touch on one of our partners, Ooze and Oz, ahead of the game. Uh, how can you come to DC and not eat at Ooze and Oz? CBC, the Congressional Black Caucus, is almost here. Visit Ooze and Oz and try out their bottomless mimosa brunch from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Saturday and Sunday at Ooze and Oz Georgia Avenue location. Also, only at Georgia Avenue's location. They have happy hour 3 to 7 p.m. daily. And then also, for those of you maybe getting off late, hitting the night scene or whatnot, that's very popular in DC. Fridays and Saturdays, Ooze and Oz is open until midnight at Georgia Avenue and until 4 a.m. at U Street. So the Washington Mystics coming off a very thrilling win. That's an appropriate word, thrilling win over the New York Liberty to close out the regular season. Just this past Sunday, Natasha Cloud threw a perfect pass from out of bounds with 0.2 seconds left. And Sykes caught it and knocked down the jumper to give the Mystics a much-needed win as they head into the playoffs, especially considering that this was their playoff opponent, the New York Liberty, on the road. And, it's a big win. Kind of sent the Liberty a message that they're not going to be walked over. Which is encouraging. The WNBA playoffs started on Wednesday, and both games were blowouts. It got ugly from the top two seeds, Connecticut Sun and Las Vegas Aces. So this is kind of the series where everybody feels that it will be far more competitive, even though the Mystics are currently in the 7th seed and the Liberty are in the 2nd seed. The thing that I was impressed with from Sunday's game that I feel should carry over if the Mystics are to pull off the upset is the Mystics continuing their team defense, man. The way they were switching with purpose, trapping the Liberty on the base on the sideline, helping each other out, hedging out, just being very, very disciplined, even when the Liberty made shots. Get into that, led by Jonquil Jones and Sabrina Ionescu. They didn't let it ride on them, which was encouraging being on the road and in that building. They didn't let it ride on. They stayed disciplined throughout the game, and it paid off. Both teams hit each other with runs, but at the end of the day, the Mystics were able to pull it out. And without their defense being on point as a team, they wouldn't have been able to do that. The Mystics held the Liberty to 40.5% shooting from the field and 32.4% shooting from deep. The game wouldn't have been close if the Liberty weren't so efficient at their free throw line. They were 16 to 16. The Mystics pretty much had their way with them offensively on their own. You could just see the difference in speed. It's led by Natasha Cloud and Brittany Sykes getting downhill, creating for others. The Mystics shot 50% from the field, 36% from deep, and 84% from the line. They left 3 on the board. And keep in mind, they did this with Deladon only being 3 of 6. Kind of being a decoy as the game went along. You could see the Liberty were trying to trap her, off of, pick and roll sets or whatnot. And she was just patient as she normally is. And she found cutters and open shooters time and time again. Or she had a hockey pass, the hockey assist where, she found she made the right pass and to let's say Sykes, and Sykes made the quick pass to, cutting Shatori Walker Kimbrough or Ariel Atkins or whatnot, Lee Ming. The main Maisha Hines Island, whoever, and they made the Liberty pay for trying to double Deladon. So that was definitely encouraging, something to look at, because you don't expect Deladon to be 3 for 6 now that it's playoff time. So to me, that's very encouraging. But moving on to things to look at, obviously I just mentioned the Mystics defense. Got to look at the Liberty side of things as well. You got to look at pissed off Breonna Stewart. Look, it wasn't her best game. She's an MVP candidate year in, year out, especially this year. She averaged 23 points, 9.3 rebounds, and 3.8 assists on 46.5% shooting from the field, 35.5% shooting from deep, and 85.1% from the line. I expect her to be a totally different player this evening, moving on in the playoffs. So she played far below her standards, but you got to give credit to the Mystics defense. They were physical, they swarmed her, they were blindside traps. They bothered her, had a hand on her face, they made it tough on her. After the game, she finished 4 for 17. That's way below her standards. As I just mentioned, 0 for 6 from 3. You rarely see that from her. And she only got to the free throw line once and made that one free throw. Whenever, Stewie not getting to the free throw line, that's tough. So that means the Mystics were not only on point defensively, they were guarding without fouling, which would be huge in the series with the firepower that the Liberty have. But Stewart still try to do things, the other things, which is what makes her special. She has 6 rebounds, obviously only 2 assists with the ball being INS going back to 2 hands mostly. You know what I mean? But I expect her to be a totally different player coming out. So I expect her to be aggressive, and I expect her to get to her spots a lot quicker where she can, be on the attack. And the Mystics got to be aware of that as well. Be aware that, that helps our defense and whatnot. And once again, be disciplined like they were on Sunday. If they maintain that, hey, you have to expect that, Stewie's going to hit some tough shots. You just live with those. But you don't want her exploding and get any kind of shot she wants. Otherwise, this would be a short series. And obviously, we know the Mystics know that. That's just common sense. Going to continue this. The Mystics trio of elite perimeter defenders, and I'm only talking about Ariel Atkins, Natasha Cloud, and Brittany Sykes. And to me, they're the best trio of defenders on the perimeter in the league. It's not even close. They can guard 1 through the 3, some 4s, and they can do it effectively. They can do it by themselves. They can trap. They can dig down, get back to their man. They can test threes. They can press full court. They can guard on a block. They can guard players that move off screens and whatnot. They know how to do that. They know how to adjust. They have quick hands. They adjust very quickly. They're crafty on defense. They're highly intelligent, and they can get the rebound. Rebounds are a big part of defense that people don't quite mention as much. You can play defense for most of the shot clock, but if the other team keeps getting offensive rebounds, it's only a matter of time before they make you pay and score. And it drains you when you're on defense. You're doing a good job, and then offensive rebound, they grab it. The opposing team grab it, and then they're scoring easy. It deflates you. So, I love what they did, man. It wasn't just Stewie that struggled. they held Courtney Vandersloot. They held her in check a lot, so she finished with 9 points on 3 of 11 shooting, 1 for 5 from deep. She was 2 of 2 from the free throw line, and she came in being the WNBA leader in assists, nearly 10 a game, and she only had 4. You know what I mean? That's just, once again, it goes back to what I started with the keys to the game as far as what to look for, the Mystics team defense, and it starts with that 3. It starts with that 3. They swarm, and the thing I love about those 3 players, those 3 ladies, man, they love defense. They love disrupting you. They love it. It's not just like, all right, this is my job, I'm gonna do it, or I do it in a half, or I do it for a quarter, or I do it when the game is on the line. No, they come out to open the tip, hungry, and I love how they hunt players, man, and it is right on time. They displayed it. They're healthy. Atkins got a couple games under her belt after being out with a nasal fracture. Got adjusted to the mask or whatnot. But it's playoff time, so they're going to elevate their games as much as the other team. So it's going to be an interesting mix. It's going to be very fun to watch and see how they adjust or whatnot. And going back to what I was saying as far as Cloud and Sykes, the way not only defensively how they feed off each other, getting the board and being initiating creative for offense is huge, and it creates so many options for the Mystics where it makes it hard for the Liberty to key in on them, and the way they also can move without the ball. Those 2, and Atkins as well. She had to go in last game from mid range and whatnot, but most of the time the ball is more so in the hand of Sykes and Cloud. And when you see that, the way they can cut back door, the Mystics can cut back door, it's hard for teams to guard. And an example of that is because of the threat of them initiating the offense, the Liberty slowly but surely in last game denied them the ball, which forced other players to have to make plays, specifically Maisha Hines-Allen, but she has that ability. And I'm going to show you right now exactly what I mean. well, in a second where you see one play where Sykes has the ball and she finds Cloud cutting to the basket, and then the next clip you're going to see Maisha Hines Allen find a Walker Kimbrough come back door when they try to deny both players the ball, and then it's just a beauty walk, and it makes it hard to kind of pinpoint who to attack as the primary ball handler. We're going to start with Sykes and Cloud clip right here.
Sixth three-pointer of the season, just adding to her record total. Nice cut by Cloud.
Just like I said, Sykes drives to the lane. Benelaney, she fell asleep. Cloud saw that as a vet normally does. Cut to the basket, got an easy lay-in. Now we're going to move to the next clip when Maisha Hines Allen finds Walker Kimbrough doing the V-cut back towards the basket, coming up from the corner to the elbow, and V-cutting right to the basket.
She is always all over it. She guards every team's best player guard-wise. Creates that offense.
So the Mystics can kill you in a myriad of ways, man. So that's the reason why they had a few runs where they were going like a 10-2 run, 12-2 run. And late, as much as late as in the third quarter, they had a double-digit lead. Obviously, the Liberty came back and, made it a game late, but the Mystics ultimately pulled it out. I would like to see more of those actions because they took advantage of the lack of, I call it, perimeter foot speed that the Liberty have. The Mystics on the perimeter are clearly more athletic and clearly faster. And they need to take advantage of that for sure. Touching on the speed, moving forward, the speed of the Mystics on the perimeter is an advantage. Look, they outscored the Liberty 40-28 in the paint. The Liberty guards struggled to keep up with the Mystics guards pretty much throughout the game. They struggled to keep them in front of them. So Cloud and Sykes were able to turn the corner. If they didn't get to the basket, they were able to get to the line, or they found open shooters and they made them pay. You can, like I said earlier, I stated the efficiency in which they shot the ball. So that's something to also look at. Vandersloot, she's been in the league for a minute. She might not be as fast, as quick as she was. They got to take advantage of that in Ionescu, ultimate competitor or whatnot, but I don't think she's on par athletically with the Sykes and Clouds of the world. Like Sykes is one of the best overall athletes as well as players in the WNBA. And that's what allows her to play much, much bigger than what she is, man. So, and obviously Atkins is right there as well. So it's a tough matchup, but the Mystics have to take advantage of that. And that's the thing. Because once they turn that corner, you have a couple trees back there waiting that are very, very athletic and long and, talented in their own right, and Jonquel Jones and Breanna Stewart, who I mentioned earlier. Touching on Jonquel Jones and Sabrina Ionescu, they were bright spots for the Liberty. Without them, the game was a double-digit L. Even with Stewie and Vandersloot struggling from the field, the Liberty bench, being outscored 25-18. I'm going to touch on that in a little bit. They stepped it up. Jonquel Jones had 19 points and 9 rebounds, 2 assists, and 8-13 shooting from the field, 1 of 3 from deep, 2 of 2 from the line. And Sabrina Ionescu was bombing the Mystics. She had a lot of big threes. She finished with 20 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, and 6 of 9 shooting from the field, 4 of 6 from deep, 4 of 4 from the line with only 2 turnovers. I'm gonna give you an example of how they had it cooking, starting with Jonquel Jones.
But comes up empty that time. Jones for 3 is good. Jonquel.
As you can see, Ionescu, they just bring the ball up. You see Maisha Hines Allen back behind her 3-point line, a little too far. Jonquel didn't hesitate. Knocked down her only 3 of the game. Pretty much letting Hines Allen know you better close out this airspace. In the next clip, Ionescu, parking lot range, she displays it right here.
Johannes and Ionescu play catch. Now it's Sav for a long one. Ionescu.
As great as the Mystics defense was, overall, those two got off. They still did damage, you know what I mean? And they're going to have to figure out what I expect, pissed off Stewie coming. I expect Vandersloot to also step her game up. They're going to have to be very, very careful about allowing those other two to get off, as well as trying to figure out how to keep Jonquel and Ionescu in check, man. That's the only way they're going to be able to pull this out, especially on the road. Uh, you know, easier they said than done, man. It's the reason why the Liberty are 32-8 in the second seed. It's a tough matchup. It's just tough to deal with. They're very tough, but the Mystics have the defenders to be able to pull it out. They just gotta be consistent, stay with it, and be mentally tough, not to fall apart when the Liberty go on the inevitable runs. And the bench. Like I said, last but not least, the bench. The Mystics bench showed up 25. They scored the Liberty bench 25-18. You know what I mean? 8 points, 3 or 5 from the field, 2 or 4 from three-point range. You've seen as the season has progressed, she's gotten more and more comfortable, not just playing with the ladies on the Mystics, they're her teammates, but just understanding the league. She's gotten more physical. She's even improved defensively, whereas early in the season she was a liability. No disrespect, just being honest. Where now she's at least holding up well enough where she can get help and they can't just pick on her. And that's encouraging. But one thing that's always been is she's a fearless shooter and she can knock it down with range and from deep. So it gets very, very, interesting when she gets in the game because she can spread the floor. It's a different type of look for the Mystics. It's hard for defenders to help off of her, and with her size being 6 feet, she can play a couple positions. She can defend a couple positions, man, and you can leave her out there. And the first shots on, it's just another dynamic for the Mystics that opens things up for, like I said, with the Clouds, the Atkins, the Deladons, especially Sykes, Hines Island. They got room to get to the basket, create, or score. And that's her job. And she's been doing her job. She did her job in the last game, and they're going to need her to continue to do her job. In the reserve row, Shatori Walker Kimbrough, 6 points, 4 rebounds, 3 or 5 from the field. Very, very solid minutes in 18 minutes. Did a good job defensively as well, just competing, having to deal with Vandersloot and Ionescu, and being productive on the offense end. Again, she was there doing a championship run. She knows what she needs to do. A lot of pieces from the championship run are there, so they know what time it is, and she knows she got to step up. Queen Egbo was huge, especially with Shakira Austin being out still with a hamstring injury. 14 minutes, she has 6 points and 2 rebounds and 3 or 6 shooting from the field. And a few of those, she was wide open, just setting good screens and getting herself open. And like I said, when they tried to trap Deladon, she was patient. And a few of those assists were the egg were wide open underneath the basket. So when you're getting wide open layups, that tend to force that double to come a little slower, back off totally. And that's where she could thrive at. And Tiana Hawkins, who who has been the standard for this team all season. Outside of Sykes, man. If it's MVP, it should be co-MVP for Sykes and her because they've been the mainstays as far as being consistent with the production and being leaders or whatnot to keep this thing going. Where the Mystics wouldn't fall out the playoff race. She had 5 points, 5 rebounds, 1 block, 2 or 4 from the field in 20 minutes, man. And her help side defense, on Stewie, while she's gone to John Quayle, couldn't ask for much more, man. Look, she has her hands full down there. She has her hands full. And those two are trees. They're both 6'6". Can score from all 3 levels, defend, put on the floor, athletic, long wingspan, and 2 of the best players in the game. And she has to deal with them at once. But she competes, man. And, that's why she's 1-on-1, and the Mystics won't be where they are without Tiana Hawkins. So, look, the benchmark for the Mystics is a lot of veterans, outside Ming also, but it's 2 players on that bench that were here during the playoff run, the championship run in 2019. They're the mainstays that have been here. Obviously, Tori left, but she came back for a spell. But they know what's needed, and believe me, they're not coming into this game, shy or feeling like they're the underdogs, even though their seeding may say that. They're coming in here thinking they can win. You know what I mean? So it's going to be an interesting series. I'm seeing a lot of my peers in the media kind of figuring out the same thing. It's going to be a lot closer than what people think if the Mystics play up to their standard and don't have one of those games where no one can hit shots and they're falling asleep defensively or whatnot. They're doing that. They're making, what I call below par mistakes because it's below par for the caliber of players they have. This would be a short series. But if they bring it like they brought it on Sunday, things to get very interesting. So I'd like to thank y'all for joining me. Stay with us this evening. Also, throughout the game, if any updates come through, we'll be tweeting it out. And also definitely stay with us following the game, where we have Mystics Outlook to talk about what went down in the game. And look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.